Hello there, everyone. This is Miss Gonzalez. I wanted to give you the top 10 tips for success this semester. I know class has already started, but I wanted to give you some success tips and some important reminders about things that are kind of non-negotiables in the class and things that are just going to help you get started this semester and definitely pass the class, which is all of our goals. So the first one is get the textbook. So I know a lot of you are on the free trial period right now, but the free trial period ends. And so if you're in a short semester, the trial period is going to end about 5 days after class starts. And if you're in a full semester, a 16-week semester, the trial period is going to end after 14 days. So you really need to take that into account and get your textbook and your materials before that trial ends. So sometimes the disbursements of your textbook and materials money is not right away, so you kind of want to make arrangements to make sure you can get your textbook by the time that trial ends. So it's very important to get your textbook before the trial ends, because once the trial ends, you will be locked out of MindTap. So you won't be able to do any work in MindTap, and you won't be able to read the ebook. If you have your own paperback book, you could still read, but you won't be able to do any of the work in MindTap. You'll still be able to do your work in eCampus, but you won't be able to access MindTap. Now, the due dates will stay the same. So although you can't get into MindTap, the things that are in MindTap will still be due. Remember, there's no makeup work and there's no late work. So once those due dates come, the MindTap closes for that unit and it won't be reopened. So not being able to get a textbook is not really a extenuating circumstance, and it will cause you to fall behind in your work. So it's very important that you get a textbook before your trial period ends. And remember, if you are in a short-term class, it's going to end 5 days after class start. And if you're in a long class, a 16-week semester, it's going to end 14 days. Number 2, this kind of piggybacks off of number 1 with your textbook. There's no late work or makeup work accepted. So I know things happen. We all have circumstances that we run into, obstacles, but there's no late work and there's no makeup work. So once MindTap closes or the unit folder in eCampus closes, it will not be reopened, and there's nothing that you can do after a due date has passed. So definitely keep that in mind as you're completing assignments, as you're making plans to complete assignments, and as you prioritize the things that you do. There's no makeup work and there's no late work. There's never a circumstance or an extenuating issue that will allow for makeup work. So if you miss something and you have a genuine issue, that's fine, but you've missed that assignment and the due date is passed, and missing an assignment or two is not going to cause you to fail. So keep that in mind when you complete assignments. So if you decide to kind of do the bare minimum for a while or a couple weeks, and then you actually have a circumstance that comes up and you miss a couple assignments, well, you've been doing the bare minimum the entire time, so you have about a 70, maybe a little bit higher than a 70, and now you've missed assignments, and that's going to cause you to fail. So work with the thought that you are trying to maintain an average that could take an emergency or something like that. If you're doing your work, you're doing quality work, you're doing your work on time, if you miss a couple assignments or if you get a low grade, it is not going to affect your grade. So there's no need to panic. You will need to panic if you are not taking care of business and then an emergency happens. You are going to be in a bit of a pickle. So that's the end-all be-all on late work and makeup assignments. The next thing is that you need to definitely read everything in eCampus. I know class just started, and that's why I'm sending this video out now. Anything you need is always most likely in eCampus. There are a lot of tabs in there. Trust me, I know I put them in there. And there's a lot of stuff under each tab, but it's all very, very important. I do not expect you to sit down in one day and read absolutely everything in there, but I do expect you to have looked over everything and be very familiar with where things are and where you can find the information you need. I teach more than one class, and so I get lots of email. When I get email, that has to do with something that can be answered in eCampus, I will typically redirect you to eCampus. I'm not upset, I'm not mad at you, it's nothing personal. I just know that the answer's in eCampus, and so in the amount of time it would take me to answer your question, I would rather redirect you to eCampus and focus on questions that cannot be answered in eCampus or are emergency. And you would be thankful for this as well, because if you are someone who's emailing me about something that is not in eCampus and you need a response from me, you would rather that I'm spending my time responding to you as opposed to answering 10 emails that have the same question that have an answer somewhere else. So please look in eCampus if you have an issue to try and solve that before you send me an email. Also, I have email guidelines, so I don't always respond right away. I know sometimes I do, but that's not always the case. And if you're waiting for me to answer a question for you, it might be too late by the time you get the answer. So please look in eCampus, look under those tabs, look at the documents that are there, watch the videos that are there, and use tech support if you need it. Applia and eCampus have tech support, and they can help you with technical issues. The next thing is I email a lot. So I don't think of emails as punitive or punishment. Think of them as encouragement. So a lot of times I am emailing you about something that you may be missing or that I notice you haven't done, and just take that as a friendly reminder or as an update. I'm typically not emailing anyone that I'm angry with, and I'm typically not angry. So I'm emailing you just for the sheer purpose of kind of keeping you in the loop. Most of it's advice. So obviously I've taught this class a lot of times, and I've taught it in the summer a lot of times. So I know what is helpful to do and kind of what you should be mindful of, what you should keep on your radar, what you maybe should be doing or have done. And that's why I'm emailing you. I don't want to just kind of leave you out there to sink or swim. And then afterwards, when the class is over and maybe you failed, you think, in hindsight, if I would have done X, Y, and Z right away, it would have been more helpful. I know that because I've taught the class before and I've had people fail, I've had questions asked, and so I kind of know what is most helpful. And it may be hard for you to see that because this is your first time in college. It may be your first college class, and it's definitely your first time possibly taking this class with me. So take these as friendly reminders and as advice, not as I am on your back or I'm trying to kind of nitpick, because that's never the case. When you think about it, it'd be easier for me to just leave you alone. So all of the emails are positive because I feel like it's worth my time to take the time to email you about specific issues, as opposed to just kind of letting it be, and if you get it, you get it, if you don't, you don't. So all of the emails that I send are positive, regardless of the tone. They're always positive. I'm just sending you an email because I want you to be successful. So if you get a lot of emails from me, it's just a lot of communication. Think of it, if we were in a face-to-face class, I would talk to you every day. And I might even talk to you before class and after class, and then we'd still email. We are in an online class, so we never see each other and we don't talk. So emails are our communication. So don't think of it as weird that I may send you one email a day or even two a day, because if we were in a face-to-face class, we would talk that much. So look at email as communication and think about the expected communication you would get from me in a class. So it's really a benefit that I'm sending you lots of email, because I want the communication to be open and I want you to know what's going on. I want to know what's going on, and I want to give you that chance to communicate with me if you need to. The next thing is, don't wait until the last minute. This is probably one of the biggest things I get from students. It seems like everything's pretty straightforward. You do your work, you read, you turn things in, and inevitably I always get someone who I'm emailing and I'm saying, hey, I've noticed you haven't done work yet, I noticed you haven't logged in yet, and they tell me, well, this is a self-paced class, it's online, I can do my work whenever I want, which is completely true. There's no time when you have to be online, there's no time when you have to have things completed. There's one due date for the whole folder, and if you do all the work the day before the due date, that is completely up to you. If you do all the work the second day the folder opens, that's completely up to you. That, how you do your work and when you do it, as long as you meet the due dates, is completely up to you. But what I would advise you is that if you wait until Saturday to do all your work, and Sunday's the due date, if your computer goes out, your internet goes out, the website crashes, you will miss all of those assignments. There is never an excuse for late work or makeup work because you have ample time to complete your work. Now, if you decide to use the end of the week to do your work, that's completely up to you, but you also need to accept the risk with that because we all know in life things happen. So it's not completely out of the realm for your internet connection to be slow or to not work, or there to be a storm and it completely go out. It's not completely out of the realm for eCampus to crash. It tends to do that, and it always tends to do that on high usage times, which is always Sunday, later in the evening, because that's when everybody's on it. Those are things I can't help. Those are things you can't help. And that's why I don't take makeup work, because it's your choice when you do your work, and you should just, you keep those things in mind. Think about it. The same way you leave for work in the morning or school, you have to be there at 8. You don't leave at 8:45, even if it does take 15 minutes to get there, because you think about what if there's traffic, what if there's an accident, what if I need to stop for gas. You never put yourself up onto deadlines that way in real life, so think about that the same way in school and definitely in this class. You could wait till the very last minute, till 9 o'clock on Sunday night to do your work when it's due at midnight. You could do that, and it may very well work. But if it doesn't, the one time when there's an issue, when your internet doesn't work, when the website is slow, when you can't find something and you're not sure what to do and you need to email me, that one time will put you behind. And unfortunately, I won't be able to open up those assignments for you. You will just miss those. So work with an emergency in mind. If you take care of everything, you can then handle emergencies or obstacles or issues as they come. If you've got most of your work done by Wednesday, and then you log back into work Friday and the website crashes, well, you still got Saturday to work. So, it's not a big issue. Don't put yourself up against the wall, right? Don't put yourself in a situation that you can't get out of, and then that puts you to need something from someone else, because again, there's no late work or makeup work. I can't stress that enough. The next thing is make sure that you're well aware of my email policy. So the email policy is obviously in the syllabus, and you needed to use it on the syllabus quiz, but people forget when they are panicked or need something that I have specific email guidelines. And in short, you can, at the very least, expect an email response from me within 24 hours. Remember, if it's after 5 p.m., it may be longer than 24 hours because that's outside of kind of the business hours. Think again, if we were in a face-to-face class, we would get together and we would talk in class, and you may not be able to speak with me again until the class, which would be then, 2 days from that. If we had a class Monday, you wouldn't see me again until Wednesday. So think of that in the same way as an online class. Just because the class is online and you email me at 7 does not mean you will get a response at 8. It doesn't even necessarily you'll get a response the next day at 8 a.m. That's not the way a face-to-face class would work, and just because this is online does not mean it's 24 hours, 7 days a week, right? So keep my email guidelines in mind. I typically do email back pretty quick and don't follow those guidelines all the time, but keep in mind those are the guidelines. So you could get an email 24 hours later. You could maybe not get a response over the weekend. My email guidelines are that I don't email over the weekend. Obviously, I have emailed you some of you over the weekend, but those guidelines are in place just to make sure that you know that if that is the case, you may not get an email. I will obviously always try to email you and respond to you as quick as possible, but those guidelines are there, and that may happen. So keep that in mind. That's another reason why you should not wait till Friday or Saturday to do your work, because if you have an issue and you email me, technically I won't email you back till Monday. I'd like to do it sooner, but sometimes I just can't, and that's why those guidelines are there. The next thing is to think about netiquette. When you are in class with people, you use body language and you use tone to kind of get your meaning across, and people understand what you're saying, not always through your words, but based on how you're saying them. we're in an online class, so we can't hear each other and we can't see each other. So we're at a great disadvantage. All we can see is the written word. So you can write something and it can mean 1,000 different things to 1,000 different people. So keep that in mind. And Netiquette is your etiquette online. So when you email, read something before you send it and think about how it will be perceived. Sometimes we need to write things differently than we'd say them because we don't have the luxury of seeing each other or using body language to reassure the person that we're communicating with what our true intention is. So you need to make sure you look at the tone in the emails and the discussion boards and everything that you're writing that goes out to other people, and make sure that that is not aggressive or offensive or could be interpreted as an issue. And sometimes that's hard because we're just used to communicating, and when we write emails, a lot of times we don't mean anything negative at all. It's just an email. But when we're online, we don't know each other, we're all in a class, we're new. All we have is the word and our interpretation of it. So do your best to make sure that it comes across communicating what you truly meant to communicate. The last thing that I want to talk about are drop dates. You need to make sure that if by the drop date you are not passing, that you drop the class. You cannot drop the class after the drop date. You need to make sure that you're looking at when the drop date is. It's in the syllabus, and you are around that time kind of assessing where you are in the class to know if you need to drop. I'm always open to a conversation about that, and I'll let you know my thoughts and help you with what you may need to do. But you need to make sure that you are cognizant of that, because I will not email you on the drop date and tell you need to drop. I cannot drop you. That's not something I can do. So that is all up to you. Now, if the drop date passes and you are failing, you will fail the class. There's no incompletes in this class. I know a lot of you are familiar with incompletes, but I don't give incompletes, and that's not available for this class. So you will not get an incomplete. If you're failing, you need to drop by the drop date, and if you stick it out, you need to really try and pass. There's no incompletes. There's no extenuating circumstances that exist or that happen that will cause me to give you an incomplete. I just don't give incompletes. So please drop if you need to. Please talk to me before dropping to see if you need to, or to discuss your options. But make sure you take care of what you need to take care of for yourself to make sure that you're successful and that, again, you do not find yourself in a bind. Those are pretty much the most common things that I run into with students. Again, I've been teaching this class a very long time, and I've done several summer semesters, so I kind of know the ropes. And so I just want to give you the benefit of the knowledge and the things that I've observed over the years so that can help you be successful. Again, there's lots of options on how you do things in this class and when you complete your work, but I'm just giving you insight into what I have found that works and what I have found that doesn't work. And I have found that students understand the policy of no makeup work until they have work that they've missed and they need to make it up. Then all of a sudden it's definitely a problem. Students don't quite understand what the drop date is and what that means, or what an incomplete means. So a lot of this that I've said is in the syllabus, but I know reading a document that long is very arduous, and sometimes you miss things. So I wanted to give you some, I guess, pro tips on taking this class in summer or in a long semester, kind of help you out a little bit. It is everyone's first time in college. If you have questions, feel free to email me or text me through Remind 101. Keep all of these reminders and tips in mind that I gave you. Again, read your syllabus, be cognizant of what's going on. If you have tech issues, contact tech support. I can give you a few kind of heads up type things when you tell me you have an issue based on things that I've seen before, but I can't access your computer and I can't see what you can see, so I can't really troubleshoot technical issues for you. You need to contact the MindTap, the tech support, or eCampus tech support, depending on what you're having an issue with. I can't fix your eCampus and I can't fix your MindTap at all. And remember, as it says in the syllabus, technical issues are not a reason for makeup work or late work or an excuse. So the minute you have a tech issue, try and troubleshoot it yourself. There's lots of videos and there's lots of guides to download. But contact tech support if something's not working. I'd love to tech support and troubleshoot things for you, but I just can't. And some things I just don't know how to do, and they're out of my realm because I don't run these websites. So tech support is going to be your go-to for all technical issues. I mean, you want to make sure you stay on top of that because in the end you're responsible for your work and your due dates. But if you take care of things in enough time and you prioritize things, you're not going to have an issue with any of this. But if you put yourself in a tight spot, you will have to make some hard, fast decisions and maybe have some consequences that, aren't that favorable. Again, if you need anything, feel free to contact me. I look forward to this semester. I love this class, and I really like summer semesters, even though they're really short. Summer students are usually always the best. Contact me if you need to. Everything's in eCampus, and get going.